guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm your tutor, Disha. We're continuing reproductive biology today by looking at sexual reproduction in animals, specifically humans. Now, what did I say sexual reproduction was again? That's right. Sexual reproduction involves the production of an offspring or offsprings from the fusion of the male sex cell and the female sex cell. Now, these sex cells are produced through a process called gametogenesis. Gametogenesis. Gametegenesis. Well, gametes mean a haploid sex cell, and genesis means to create something. Gametogenesis is the process by which gametes are made. And gametogenesis occurs two ways depending on your sex. In males, gametogenesis occurs through spermatogenesis. And in females, gametogenesis occurs through oogenesis. Now let's start with the males. Spermatogenesis occurs in the seminiferous tubules in the testes, and the process begins at puberty. Now, a spermatogonium, which is diploid, undergoes mitosis to form primary spermatocyte. Now, this primary spermatocyte will undergo meiosis 1 to form secondary spermatocytes. These secondary spermatocytes will undergo meiosis 2 to form spermatids. These spermatids will undergo modifications like getting tails to form sperm. Oogenesis occurs in the ovaries, and unlike males, which begins at puberty, oogenesis begins at birth. How cool! Similarly, the oogonium, which is diploid, undergo mitosis to form the primary oocyte. Now, the primary oocyte undergoes meiosis 1 but stops at prophase 1. Now, at puberty, the primary oocyte will complete meiosis 1 to form a secondary oocyte. This secondary oocyte undergoes meiosis 2 to form an ovum and a polar body. This polar body or polar nuclei is not really important. Now, in females, the ovum is released every month through a process called ovulation. When sexual intercourse occurs, this haploid ovum will fuse with this haploid sperm to form a diploid zygote. This process is called fertilization. Now, the testes is the site of sperm production, specifically the seminiferous tubules. The testes also secrete an hormone called testosterone. And testosterone controls the production of sperm as well as the initiation of the male secondary sexual characteristics. When intercourse occurs, mature sperm will go through the epidermis, then it will travel through the vas deferens or sperm duct until it reaches the site of the seminal vesicle, which will secrete seminal fluid, and also it will combine with fluid from the prostate gland. And all these constituents will then move to the urethra into the penis for ejaculation. Now, onto the female, the ovary is the site of the secondary oocyte production. And when ovulation occurs, a mature ovum will be released, travel through the oviduct or the fallopian tubes down to the uterus. Now, if fertilization takes place, the zygote will be implanted into the uterus. Now, before we go, let's talk about the menstrual cycle and how these beautiful hormones play a significant role in sexual reproduction. Menstrual cycle is the process of ovulation, which is the release of the egg, and menstruation, which is the breakdown of the egg in females. This cycle spans roughly 28 days and begins at puberty and ends at menopause. Now, this cycle is controlled by two sets of hormones. We have hormones from the pituitary, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, and the luteinizing hormone, and we have hormones from the ovary, which is progesterone and estrogen. Menstrual cycle has 4 steps. There's the follicular phase, ovulation, the luteal phase, and menstruation. Let's start with the follicular phase. The follicular phase starts on the first day of menstruation and ends with ovulation. Follicular phase, as the name suggests, is controlled by the follicle stimulating hormone. Now, the pituitary secretes this hormone, which prompts our ovary to start producing small follicular cells, but only one of these follicular cells will become a mature egg. The next step in the menstrual cycle is ovulation. In the follicular phase, there's a rise in estrogen. And estrogen is going to prompt the pituitary to release luteinizing hormone. With this rise of luteinizing hormone in the ovaries, ovulation will be triggered and an egg will be released, which will travel down the fallopian tube to the uterus. The next phase is the luteal phase. Now, during ovulation, the egg bursts from its follicle and travels down the fallopian tube to the ovary, but this ruptured follicle remains and it begins to develop to form a corpus luteum. This corpus luteum will secrete progesterone, which will cause the lining of the endometrium to get thick in the possibility of sperm fertilizing an egg. The last phase is menstruation. Now, if this egg that has been released from the ovary is fertilized by a sperm, it will implant into the endometrium. If not, the estrogen and progesterone levels in the corpus luteum will fall, and this causes the breakdown of the lining that was thickened by the hormone, and this will pass out via menarche.